Welcome to SYNKD On Air. I'm your host, Angelique Rob with SYNKD, and today I have Joe Wadkins with me, or Ask JW is what we should say, or J Dub.
I guess. I'm a J Dub.
J Dub. Okay, okay.
J Dub's
Um,
in the house.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. You have been with us before, but in the publication. And first off, I guess our first issue with you in it was in January 2021, where we talked about the evolution of synthetic turf and how far things have come from when it was first invented, what, in the 1950s.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I thought maybe you could tell us. So that was in 2022. Is that right? Yeah. So, and things have progressed even more since. Do you want to fill
Yes.
us in, catch us up?
Well, the industry's been exploding. There's so many different new products that are out on the market today that are creating new applications for synthetic turf. And it's actually become a multi-billion dollar, industry. So,
Wow.
and these synthetic turf installations have been growing, 20% every year.
Oh, wow. That is huge. That's a big number.
Yeah, every year.
Well, and the next time we worked with you was when we launched the West region. We only did that late last year, and you were in the first issue for a unique application as well. So I loved that,
The rooftop.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a soccer
So,
field on top of a rooftop.
yeah. So
With a
tell
park,
us
with a
more
parking
about
garage.
that. Yeah,
Well,
that's great.
the rooftop installations have gotten really popular due to the spaces that are actually sitting with no one on it. Parking garages. The soccer field that we did was actually on the last floor of a parking garage. So they decided to create it into a usable space. So they went ahead and put
So
a little
cool.
mini soccer field on top. It was structurally sound for that. So we actually used a drainage grid below the turf, and it
Yeah,
turned
air
out,
drain.
yeah, the air drain grid.
That was the first time I'd heard of that.
Yeah, the air
So
drain.
how new is that product?
Well, the air drain grid has been around for a couple decades. When it first started,
Okay.
it was actually made for sheets for fields. They were putting that grid under fields. It was 10-foot rolls when I first had my hands on it.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
then it's evolved. So they made it user friendly for for sections of 32 inches by 32 inches. It's a plastic grid. It's made of a high composite plastic, which it's been down for. I have had a few projects down for quite a while now, 15 years,
Yeah.
and some projects pulled up and put back down on it. And it's a drainage grid. It elevates the turf up, allows aeration, allows the water and fluids to drain through it, and then
Yeah.
exits wherever it's got to go. And now, like I said, they come in user friendly of 32 inches by 32 inches sections that they put together. And then once you put them all in, you just slap the turf on top
Lay the
and
turf.
put
Yeah.
the infill in, and you're ready to go.
Wow. That is so cool that, a space that nobody wants to park in anyway, up on the top
Yeah.
of the garage. And now kids are using it to practice soccer on. I think that's fantastic. And you mentioned earlier that these kind of unique installations are kind of taken off.
Yeah, the anything above level, taking up room. There's a lot of balconies, mezzanines, and people are taking onto the rooftop installation of synthetic turf. It allows a space for people to go up and enjoy. And also, there's areas where some of the hotels are actually putting pet areas up there as well
Okay.
for
Yeah.
pets to go and do their duty. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what other innovations have we seen recently coming through the manmanufacturers and so
Well,
on?
other than just regular landscape lawns, we have the sport industry that has exploded as well, with all different types of new innovations for sports fields and sporting areas. You have the pet areas that are being placed today is a growing industry of synthetic turf pet installations,
Okay.
mainly due to the systems being elevated as well, like with the drainage grid, air
With
drain,
the, yeah.
for it to aerate and for the fluids to be washed through and be able to be flushed. But it also, the products alone have evolved, where back, in the days, most pet turf products were designed with drainage holes every 4 to 6 inches on center. Well, now products are being developed where they are 100% permeable, where they
Oh,
drain
wow.
through the whole product and additionally have perforated holes in them. So instead of the urine and the uric acid and the feces, harboring within the fibers and in that pocket, they're now able to be flushed through.
Okay. So
Yeah.
more of a woven back.
Yeah, it's more of it's tufted still, but
Okay.
it looks woven on the backing. It's a different color. It's a different, totally different manufacturing process.
Okay.
But it's amazing. I mean, you got to get some hands on it.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Oh,
And they're also creating that same product for playgrounds, because playgrounds have actually taken off as well, because as decades ago, we used to all play on pea gravel and crumb rubber, the wood chips. And so
yeah.
now, the synthetic turf has taken storm on the playgrounds because, the longevity of that system. And now there's shock pads that are developed to go underneath a playground system. So you could, get your HIC numbers. HIC numbers are head injury criteria. They test for fall heights, the critical fall heights on playgrounds.
Okay.
So, synthetic turf evolved quite a bit on the playground side, and also the products also are fully 100% permeable, which allows a cooler system to aerate and fluids and
Oh,
everything to
good
be
point.
washed through as well.
Yeah. And so that the air drain or the having more drainage through the turf will actually keep it cooler.
Well, it's when you have a product that's 100% permeable. If the water is going to be draining 100% through, then that means the air is going to be able to escape and go
Yeah.
through as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It keeps the surface a little bit cooler.
Yeah. Oh, that is good.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of good stuff. Right. And so I guess in the West, I'm not in the Western US, but you are, so you're an expert in that area too. But there's a lot of other benefits that even did you say that it was from the water authority that they're actually paying people to replace their natural turf with artificial turf? Is that right?
Yes, it's here the Southern Nevada Water Authority is paying up to $3 per square foot to remove your natural grass and replace it with either a landscape rock or a synthetic turf. So
Okay.
it used to be $1 a square foot, but since the water shortages have came about, it's now it's got up to $3 per square foot, which is pretty much pays for most of the material to have a synthetic
Yeah.
turf installation put in. And the savings, annually you're spending up to $840 for either lawn care, pesticides. It just adds up, including the water. It averages about
Water, which is the biggest thing.
to
Yeah.
$1,000 a year, and since we've actually in our region here where the rebates and how they're saving, if you take out 1,000 square feet of lawn, you're going to save up to 55,000 gallons of water every year just for 1,000 square foot of natural grass.
Wow. Yeah,
That's a big savings.
those
Yeah.
are big numbers. Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, we've all seen, how the West has had the water shortages, and it's really affected people. I mean, we need water to survive, we need to prioritize where it goes. So I
Exactly.
guess the water authorities acting on that basis.
And
Gosh.
the municipalities are actually impressed with the evolution of the synthetic turf because of its makeup and look and realistic feel, and especially the permeation. Some of the cities will not give rebates if the synthetic turf does not permeate. Putting greens are not manufactured to permeate. due to if they have excessive water, it's going to affect the subbase and soften it and
Yeah.
cause irregular ball roll. But they're very impressed with the evolution of the turf and its fibers, especially because of the fiber technology and its UV inhibitors. It prevents color fading, and it combats UV degradation, and it actually gives longer warranties. We used to have an 8-year warranty, and then it went
Okay.
to 10, and now landscape turf is up to 15-year warranties on the system because of this.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's actually a lot of advances, not just in the backing of the turf, but the blades, if you like, of the turf.
Yeah, it starts out as a pellet liquid, and then it goes into a extruding where it becomes a fiber. But like I said, the evolution is already, they've added UV inhibitors.
Yeah.
There's also synthetic turf out there that has microban and cooling technologies within that fiber.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's
Okay.
exciting. The industry
Yeah.
is really exploding. And plus the textures and shapes, synthetic turf used to be a monotape flat fiber, and now there's all different, types of shape. There's S shape, C shape, W shape patterns, and mainly those are designed for high traffic. So it allows more
Okay.
aggressiveness for the fiber, and also gives longevity to the system.
Yeah. Wow. And then you go around the country doing unique installations as well and
Well,
teaching people.
I mainly do training and teaching.
Okay.
So I don't actually I'm out there installing with them on my knees, and 'cause
Yeah.
it's the point, in this industry when you're teaching seaming and this. But I travel the nation and go and teach teams and how to be more productive and profitable in their installation processes.
Yeah. And you're traveling soon. You have a conference halfway across the world too, don't you?
Yes, I was very blessed and grateful to be asked to speak at the Australian Sports Field and Play Conference in Sydney in the end of August. Yeah,
Oh, good. Okay. So get jet lag ready.
that's what I hear.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Crossing the line.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, and yeah, we do have a lot of rooftops that are coming up in our upcoming issues, that a lot of companies are putting rooftop gardens for their employees to enjoy. Again, with COVID, I think, companies are realizing if people are going to come to work, if they're going to make them come to work, let's enhance the spaces. So it does seem to be a growing trend that we have a lot more rooftop gardens all over the country. Not
Yes,
just in the big cities, where I think it started in the big cities where you had no more space, but yeah, it is becoming.
it's going everywhere. Even the Major League Baseball corporate offices up on the high rise had designed synthetic turf for its social area. But there's a lot of things to look out for when you are going to be putting in rooftops. You have to make sure that you understand, when you first actually want to have it on your rooftop, you're adding additional weight. So
Yep.
that's one thing you have to check and see if your rooftop, balcony, mezzanine will be able to hold the weight, because some synthetic turfs, when they're on a rooftop, you're going to be putting up to 5 to 6 pounds, maybe 8 pounds of material on top of that roof. And also the product itself. When you're doing any type of rooftop or mezzanine or balcony, you don't want to be putting an aggressive, real high face weight turf, because you're going to need to infill it with the granules to get that ballast, so that you don't have any wind lift. Synthetic turf is designed for, there is synthetic turf that is non-infill, but unless you secure it down, you have to protect yourself for wind lift. There is quite a bit of calls that I get across the nation of sections that people just lay down on top of TPO roof, and then the wind comes and blows up and it's down on top of a car. So you have to understand the structural part of it before you decide to go into that. And then number two, you have to not only securing, but the drainage. Are you going to have proper drainage? Do you have drainage up there? And then you have to understand the ballast where you have to place the infill in there. So if you have a lighter product so that you could get weight in there to protect yourself from wind
Okay.
lift,
Yeah. Yeah.
then you're going to have more weight on that structure. So you have to add whatever product you have, how much infill weight you're going to be. If you're going to be using a drainage grid below it, you have to add all those up because those numbers will affect the structural integrity of the building.
Mm. Yeah. And of course, you know, these buildings maybe weren't designed for that at the time of construction. Yeah. So you do need to keep that in mind. You do mention that in the Soccer on the Roof, when we featured you in the West as well, your project there,
Yeah, that was a
that
great magazine. Thank
you
you.
did have to add the infill for wind lift. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's
we had a
fantastic.
system. Yeah, we put a system up there that was allowed to get 4 pounds per square foot in that, which is, I feel, minimum for a rooftop. And then you also have to respect the having a product that's going to be able to pass the pill test, and have an E108 rating. It's a fire rating, because if you put up the synthetic turf up on the balcony and your product doesn't go through fire rating testing, then you might be liable for a major catastrophe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
No,
you got to make
very
sure
good
that your
point.
synthetic turf out there D108, and you do a pill test on it. And if you need to understand what the pill test is, you can either give me a call or I could explain it right now.
Okay. Okay.
It's actually a big pill looking, still looks like a big aspirin, and it was developed decades ago for carpet. And what they do is they heat it up to quite a bit of thousands of degrees, and then they drop it on the product. And then if the product catches fire, then it failed. But then after the test is
Okay.
done, they'll measure how much diameter was affected by that heat and how much it spread to see if it did pass that fire rating.
Oh, good.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That
just,
a strange name for it, but yeah, a heat
yeah,
test. Yeah.
well, it looks like a big aspirin. So that's why they pretty
Okay.
much call it pill test.
Oh
That's
gosh, yeah,
crucial.
a lot
That's
more to
crucial.
consider.
Yeah.
Yeah, than you think. It's not like just
And
putting
if
it
you have
outside
also
somewhere.
a lot of, like I mentioned, the pets that are up on those areas, pet areas, uh, they jump up there, the contractors or owners, and they'll throw that up there thinking they're doing the right thing, but they don't understand that uric acid that's in the urine, it's hard to get out if you don't maintain it. And if you're going to be up on top of a rooftop TPO, you've got to make sure that the surface below it is going to be able to flow. If it's aggressive or how do I say it? If it's a rough surface, then your fluids might not flow, especially if you don't have any drains. So you
Yeah.
have to be careful with that. I have seen places back east where they have rooftops, and I have gotten phone calls because of it wasn't there was no drainage whatsoever, and then puddles of water have developed below that, and then you might maybe have a little smell or
Smell. Yeah.
some bacteria or even mosquitoes harboring underneath there. So make sure if you're going to be doing rooftops that you have positive drainage, and I always do a water test prior to even installing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, fantastic. Gosh, and we have some more things coming from you, some projects that you've been working on, doing like green roofs with artificial turf. So that's going to be coming later.
Yes.
Some, again, different applications of artificial turf. And what do you see coming in the future?
Right now is an explosion on putting greens
Okay.
and bocce courts.
Okay.
But the putting greens are the putting green products are evolving too as well. The surfaces of these completed are playing natural stent meter speeds. A stent meter is a tool that was developed in the 1930s that will measure the speed of the ball. And so now we have products out there that will simulate true stent meter speeds that will simulate natural grass areas. We also have on the market today a synthetic turf putting green product that's allowed to take shots from 120 yards away and hold them. So when you're driving a ball on them, yeah. And
Gosh, well, I'm not a golfer, but that sounds a bit crazy that it will hold the ball.
Yeah, it'll hold the shot.
Yeah. 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 Oh, that's neat. always something. This just shows why we need to get an update each year and how things are progressing in the industry and what the newest developments are, changing all the time. So,
Yes, ma'am.
well, good. Well, thanks, J-Dub. Where can people find you?
Well, they could reach me at my hotline number at 888-846-3598. Or they could check out Google Ask JW, and they could read all the thousands of articles and blogs that I've written that may assist them.
Great. And you're also on the Synthetic Turf Council as well. So
Yes.
getting
Yes.
very involved in the council. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a conference coming up in New Orleans. So
Oh,
if you guys want to learn a lot and come around the industry and understand what's going on, I'd encourage you
that's
to
close to our office. So that
Yeah.
would be great. Yeah. You have to send me more details on that. And yeah, look forward to learning more about the technology and seeing some of the, the permeable turf, because again, water is a big issue, not only in the Western states where it's more publicized, but it's also an issue in the Southern states, because people don't appreciate that it's a finite resource. So,
Yeah.
the things that I'm hearing, even in Louisiana, which is quite a wet state, is that our freshwater aquifers are depleting. I've heard the same for other southern states, and you know, too many impermeable surfaces, around the state, and water is not able to permeate to the aquifers. So, it's more of an issue everywhere than just the West. I think the West has always felt it a bit more than we have in the rest of the
Great.
states, but it is an issue everywhere. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's exploding back in the East as well in those areas because, people want that green, green, and green. And even if they have enough water, even up in Florida, it's exploding in Florida as well, the synthetic turf
okay.
industry, all around there. It's because of beautification. The products out there are just amazing. They have, tricolored fibers, delustered fibers, all different types of shapes, yarns, colors. And, the manufacturers are really competing hard against each other to produce every year a new product that's going to be a wow factor.
Well, and it's funny because I guess before I got into landscape design and build, I guess I thought it was just people that didn't want the maintenance issues, but there's so many other applications, where it's impossible for grass to grow. And like you were saying, playgrounds, and I guess that was before I had kids and I didn't realize how hard it would be to have, real grass around a playground and cut it, and kids, wearing holes in the turf and
Well, in the Western region, we have a lot of poured in place rubber
okay.
around
Yeah.
playgrounds. And what happens is every year you have to reseal that due to the, delamination of the little rubber granules. And they have to put an
Oh,
aliphatic urethane every year to keep that elasticity going. And so what's happened is
oh,
some of these cities don't have the budget to do this every year. So it starts chunking out and then it becomes unsafe. And so, when you have that going on within a year, year and a half, 2 years, it's a no-brainer to put in the newest synthetic turf systems out there with the shock pad underneath it. You
gosh, I
get,
didn't realize you'd have to re-glue it every year.
well,
Um,
I'm actually certified in crumb rubber, the poured in place crumb rubber,
yeah,
and what's happened is you have to keep that surface from drying out, especially in Phoenix or Las Vegas.
where
That
the heat's
UV,
so great.
yeah, the UV sunlight will just eat it alive. And the aliphatic urethanes that they put on to seal these are very, very a thin millage. So when it gets beat up and starts, because you have to encapsulate those rubber granules in that aliphatic
Completely.
urethane. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
not really completely, because then that'll stop your hit test figures, but it's so thin that it has to flow through there and lock them in to a certain amount. Because if you put
Yeah.
on a heavy urethane, then you're going to lose your head injury criteria numbers from it being not, not flexible.
Catch
So since
22.
it's so fragile, in these hotter regions, they delaminate a lot quicker. And so the synthetic turf, these new synthetic turf systems with shock pads underneath them is a no-brainer. You got a
Much
15-year
more
warranty,
robust. Yeah.
as long as they're maintained and the infill levels are put up there so that you keep your hit numbers, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Gosh, I've learned a lot about head injuries today. Preventing them, that is.
Yeah, preventing them.
Not that I'm on playgrounds much these days, but
Right.
that's great for, the landscape architects and designers that are working on those projects. And we'll probably need to consult you for more advice as well. So
Awesome.
great. Well, thanks for educating our audience, and thanks to Turfs Up Radio for having us on. We always appreciate that they have us on their radio station, and we go out to lots of listeners. So hope you'll continue to listen into our show, and look forward to seeing you in New Orleans.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Angelique.
Good to see you, J-Dub. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.